The stars shone silently over Earth, calm and distant, as if watching the small blue planet with quiet indifference. On the surface, life went on as usual. Children played in streets, workers hurried to their jobs, and leaders discussed policies that would not matter tomorrow. Humanity felt safe, protected by its atmosphere, oceans, and distance from the vastness of space. But safety is often an illusion. Somewhere beyond the orbit of Mars, a force older and stronger than anything Earth had known was watching. It started with a flicker on the screens in the orbital command stations. A small reconnaissance drone had detected something unusual, a formation of metallic shapes moving with impossible speed and perfect coordination. They were not satellites nor comets. These ships were alive with intent, precise and silent. Millions of kilometers away, they seemed calm. But their target was clear: Earth. Scientists and military leaders sounded the alarms. Data streamed in, predictions calculated the odds, and diplomats prepared messages in dozens of languages. Humanity tried to understand them, tried to reason with them, but the aliens did not respond. They did not negotiate. They only advanced. Then the first strike came. It was sudden, brutal, and merciless. A space station far from Earth, home to scientists and civilians, was vaporized. There was no warning, no chance to escape. Monitors on Earth filled with fire, metal, and silence. Families and colleagues watched helplessly as lives disappeared in an instant. People could not believe it. How could a species so advanced be so cruel? How could they attack those who could not fight back? Fear spread like wildfire, but it was joined immediately by something stronger: anger. The anger of a species that had been pushed too far. In the United Earth Space Defense Center, Admiral Hayes stared at the screens. His jaw was tight, his eyes burning with a cold fury. "They've made a mistake," he said quietly, voice trembling with controlled rage. "A mistake they will regret." Across the globe, humanity began to change. Military engineers worked tirelessly, transforming research vessels into warships. Satellites became weapons platforms, armed with technology once reserved for deep space exploration. Old naval fleets were upgraded with new faster-than-light drives. Scientists who once focused on medicine and energy now calculated trajectories for weapons capable of leveling moons. Every effort, every mind, every hand worked toward one purpose: to protect the helpless. As Earth prepared, the alien fleet advanced without hesitation. They believed humans were weak, slow, and foolish, an easy conquest. But they did not know the strength that comes when a species fights not for power, but for survival, for family, for home. In every nation, something extraordinary happened. Borders and politics, greed and prejudice began to fade. Humanity, united by threat and grief, found a strength it had never fully realized. Soldiers drilled with relentless focus. Scientists calculated solutions at impossible speeds, and civilians worked to support the effort in every way they could. Hope and fear intertwined, fueling determination. Children listened as parents whispered stories of courage. Families held each other tightly, understanding the cost of what was coming. The world's eyes were fixed on the sky, on the ships that glinted like steel in the darkness, unaware of the storm building in response. The first strike of humanity's fury had not yet come. But every weapon loaded, every plan drawn, every human heart steeled was a promise. The helpless would no longer be victims. As the alien fleet entered the outer limits of the solar system, moving with cold confidence, the people of Earth watched and waited. And in the hearts of millions, a single thought burned bright and clear: they picked the wrong planet. From that thought, humanity's resolve began to grow, fierce and unstoppable. A storm of fury was gathering in the stars, and soon, the universe would witness what it truly meant to awaken the wrath of Earth. The night sky over Earth had never seemed so alive, or so dangerous. Across the globe, people stared upward, aware of the silent watchers above. Alien eyes that saw them as nothing more than insects. But humanity was about to prove they were far more than that. In orbital command centers, engineers and pilots worked feverishly. Every second counted. Every calculation mattered. Starships, once designed for exploration and trade, were now loaded with devastating weapons. Satellites were retrofitted into laser platforms, capable of precise strikes on alien vessels. Earth had become a planet-wide arsenal, fueled not by fear but by fury. Admiral Hayes paced the control room, watching screens that displayed the alien fleet in formation. "Target their forward scouts first," he ordered. voice sharp and unwavering. We hit them hard and fast. Let them know what Earth can do. Pilots in their cockpits gripped controls with white-knuckled intensity. For some, this was their first real battle. For others, it was personal. Families lost, friends vaporized, a home planet threatened. They carried more than weapons, they carried the hope of billions. The promise that the helpless would no longer suffer. When the first human starship jumped into the path of the alien fleet, the effect was immediate and shocking. Humanity had underestimated the aliens once, but now their strikes were precise, brilliant, and deadly. The humans attacked with a combination of strategy, unpredictability, and sheer determination. Missiles streaked across space like bolts of lightning. Energy beams cut through alien hulls, sparking explosions that reflected off nearby ships. The aliens had expected fear, chaos, surrender, but instead they met relentless courage. One by one, their forward scouts fell, ripped apart by a species they had considered weak. On Earth, billions watched through live feeds. Children gasped, parents held their hands over their mouths, and soldiers cheered in silent rooms. Humanity had struck first, and the message was clear. Earth would not be taken without a fight. Yet victory came at a cost. Every human ship destroyed took crews with them. Every success in the skies above meant heartbreak below. Families mourned, but grief was tempered by pride. Each loss became a vow. We fight harder, we strike stronger, we protect our own. The aliens, for the first time, hesitated. Their confidence wavered as human tactics grew more unpredictable. They had anticipated fear, submission, and easy conquest. Instead, they faced a species that used every tool, every mind, every ounce of courage to fight back. Humanity adapted faster than the aliens could predict, coordinating strikes across light years with a unity born from desperation and love. On a small outpost orbiting Mars, Lieutenant Cara Diaz led her squadron through a dangerous maneuver. They navigated a narrow asteroid field to flank an alien cruiser. Her hands shook not from fear but from intensity. "We can do this," she whispered to her crew. "For Earth, for everyone who cannot fight back." And when their salvo hit, the cruiser erupted in flames, tumbling helplessly through space. Admiral Hayes watched with grim satisfaction. Humanity had only begun to fight, but already the balance of power was shifting. For every alien ship destroyed, morale surged across the planet. For every strategy perfected, humanity grew smarter, faster, stronger. By the time the first battle ended, the alien fleet had suffered more than it anticipated. Humans had shown that they were no longer the prey, they were hunters. And the galaxy, vast and indifferent, suddenly felt the heartbeat of a species that refused to bow, refused to surrender, and refused to let the helpless fall again. From Earth, the message was simple, echoing across space in every direction. "We protect our own. You will learn the cost of underestimating us." And somewhere in the hearts of humanity, a quiet but unyielding fire began to burn. They had struck back. They had survived the first test. And now nothing, not even the stars, could stop their fury from rising. The alien fleet recoiled for only a moment. Then with cold precision it struck back. Explosions erupted in the dark void above Earth as massive cruisers unleashed waves of energy. Cities trembled beneath the sky, not from panic but from fear of what was coming. Humanity had fought back, yes, but the enemy was vast, relentless, and merciless. In orbit, human pilots felt the sudden weight of the fight. Lieutenant Cara Diaz's squadron dodged a volley of alien missiles, each streaking past like fiery serpents. The vacuum of space echoed with alarms and warnings. Her heart pounded, but she held steady. "Stay sharp. Focus on their weak points," she shouted, voice tight with urgency. Every life depended on the precision of their strikes and their courage under fire. On Earth, the cost of resistance became visible. Satellites fell, communication arrays went silent, and cities flickered with blackouts as alien energy beams swept across the planet. People hid in bunkers and shelters, gripping the hands of their loved ones. Yet even in terror, humanity did not break. Children whispered prayers, parents whispered courage. Across continents, humanity's resolve hardened. Admiral Hayes stood in the command room, eyes fixed on the alien formations. His face was pale, but determination burned in every line. "We've already shown them we fight," he said. "Now we show them we endure. Every human life counts. Every moment we survive is a victory." The aliens underestimated one thing above all: humanity's unity. Scientists calculated countermeasures faster than the enemy could predict. Pilots adapted mid-flight, using debris and gravity to their advantage. Engineers rebuilt destroyed defenses overnight. Humanity's ingenuity was chaotic, brilliant, and unstoppable. But the war was not without tragedy. Kara's squadron lost one of its own when a missile struck too close, sending Commander Yelena into the void. Kara felt her chest tighten, grief and rage mixing in equal measure. "We fight for them too," she whispered, tears streaking her face. "For everyone who cannot fight back. For those taken." The alien fleet advanced toward Earth with growing fury, convinced that fear would eventually crush this strange species. But every strike they made only strengthened human resolve. The cities continued to shine with resistance, sending messages of hope to the stars. Humanity would not kneel. In orbit above the Atlantic, a small human frigate intercepted a massive alien cruiser. The battle was desperate. Lasers tore through space, missiles exploded in blinding flashes, and metal groaned under the strain of advanced weaponry. Yet the humans persisted, exploiting weaknesses the aliens had dismissed. One careful maneuver, one precise strike, and the cruiser erupted in flames, tumbling silently into the void. On Earth, people watched the screens. Grief for the lost mingled with awe at the bravery of their defenders. Humanity had suffered, yes, but it had also struck back, unbroken and proud. Across the planet, a quiet pride began to spread. The helpless were no longer helpless. Admiral Hayes turned to his team, voice steady despite the chaos. "We've learned something today," he said. "We've learned that we are more than the sum of our fears. We are a force." They targeted the helpless, and in doing so, they awoke a fury they cannot comprehend. As night fell over Earth, the alien fleet paused at the edge of the solar system. They had underestimated the blue planet, underestimated its people, underestimated the storm of courage rising from every continent. Humanity had paid a heavy price, but the message was clear. Earth would not submit, and somewhere in every human heart a single thought burned brighter than ever before. They took from us. Now we take back, and we will not stop. The first wave of the alien attack had passed, but the war was only beginning. Humanity's fury had been awakened, and the universe would soon learn the meaning of Earth's wrath. Earth trembled under the weight of its own determination. Humanity had survived the first wave, endured the alien onslaught, and learned its enemies' patterns. The cost had been high, cities scarred, lives lost, but the people of Earth were alive, united, and burning with a single purpose: to make the invaders pay. Admiral Hayes stood in the command center, hands clasped behind his back, staring at the fleet maps projected in the air. "We know their weaknesses," he said, voice calm but filled with intensity. "We hit them where they think they are safe. No mercy, no hesitation. Every strike must count." In the orbital shipyards, engineers raced against time. Starships were upgraded with weapons faster and deadlier than ever before. New shields and energy pulses were tested in record time. Civilians volunteered to help, learning coding, mechanics, and navigation, contributing in ways that no one thought possible. Every human was part of the fight now. Every hand mattered. On the front lines, pilots prepared for battle. Lieutenant Cara Diaz adjusted her helmet, feeling the familiar mix of fear and determination. "We fight for Earth. We fight for everyone who can't fight. We strike and we do not stop," she told her squadron. Their nods were silent, but their eyes burned with the same fierce resolve. They were ready. The counterattack began. From orbit and across the planet, humanity unleashed its fury. Energy beams ripped through alien cruisers. Missiles tore apart their formations, and human starships moved with unpredictable, lightning-fast maneuvers. The aliens had thought humans would panic under pressure. They had thought Earth would crumble. They were wrong. In one daring operation, Kara's squadron executed a flanking maneuver through a dense asteroid belt, exploiting the enemy's blind spots. Each strike they delivered was calculated, precise, and devastating. Alien ships exploded in brilliant fireballs, tumbling silently into the void. It was a display of ingenuity and courage that the aliens could not anticipate. Back on Earth, people watched the live feeds with wide eyes and pounding hearts. Even those far from the battle felt the pride and terror at the same time. Mothers held children close, whispering stories of bravery and sacrifice. Soldiers on the ground gripped their weapons tighter, inspired by their brothers and sisters fighting in space. Humanity had become a single force, relentless and united. But the victory came at a price. Each destroyed alien ship took brave humans with it. Each maneuver carried danger. Kara's squadron lost another pilot, a friend who had been by her side since the first skirmish. She felt the pain, the grief, but also the unyielding determination. "We honor them with every strike," she whispered, voice breaking. "We fight harder. We do not let their sacrifice go in vain." The aliens began to falter. Their confidence cracked as human tactics grew bolder. They had expected fear, submission, and chaos, but instead they faced precision, courage, and unity. Humans adapted faster than the aliens could anticipate, predicting attacks and countering with strategies that no machine could fully calculate. In the command center, Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. "They targeted the helpless," he said, voice low but thunderous in meaning. "And in doing so, they awakened something they cannot control. This is our planet, our people, and we will not bow. We strike for every life lost. We strike for every home threatened. We strike for Earth itself." The alien fleet, now battered and hesitant, began to retreat from some of their forward positions. Humanity had sent a clear message. Earth was no longer defenseless. The blue planet fought back with a fury born of love, loss, and unshakable pride. Above all, the people of Earth felt it in their hearts. A storm of hope, vengeance, and courage that no alien fleet could extinguish. Humanity had survived. Humanity had struck back. And the galaxy would soon learn that Earth's wrath was not something to underestimate. The battle was far from over. But one truth had been proven. They had targeted the helpless, and humanity had risen as a force of fury from the stars. The alien fleet had withdrawn for a moment, licking wounds that humanity had inflicted, recalculating strategies. They believed they could regroup and crush Earth with overwhelming force. They did not understand the fire they had awakened. Humanity was no longer scattered and weak. Humanity was united, sharp, and relentless. On Earth, the command centers buzzed with purpose. Every sensor, every satellite, every starship was focused on the next move. Admiral Hayes moved through the room, eyes sharp, voice calm but commanding. "They think retreat is safety," he said. "We will show them that every step they take closer to Earth is a step into their own destruction. Humanity does not cower. Humanity strikes back, smarter and stronger." In orbit, Lieutenant Cara Diaz prepared for a daring operation. Her squadron had received intelligence about the alien fleet's hidden supply lines, a weak point the aliens thought secure. "We hit them here," she said, pointing to the dark coordinates on the map. "We hit them fast and we hit them hard. No hesitation. No mercy." The squadron launched, weaving through asteroid fields and the shadows of moons. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike precise. As they closed in on the enemy supply vessels, Kara felt the weight of the moment. Every human life lost in previous battles demanded that this strike succeed. Every friend, every family, every innocent taken by the aliens fueled their resolve. The attack began. Human ships unleashed a torrent of missiles and energy pulses. Alien vessels, unprepared for the speed and strategy of human coordination, erupted in fire and metal. Explosions reflected across space, lighting up the void like stars reborn. Kara's squadron executed flanking maneuvers that tore the enemy formation apart. Supply ships that had seemed untouchable were obliterated in minutes. On Earth, people watched with bated breath. Each successful strike brought relief and pride, but also sorrow for those lost. Humanity was paying a price, but the price was no longer paid in fear. It was paid in courage, in determination, in love for one another. Yet victory was not easy. The aliens retaliated fiercely, sending warships in desperate maneuvers to cover the retreat of their remaining vessels. Space became a chaotic battlefield, lasers and explosions painting a violent tapestry across the darkness. Kara's squadron fought with skill, instinct, and unyielding will. Every pilot knew that failure was not an option. Every strike carried the hopes of billions. During the battle, Kara's ship was hit. Alarms blared, controls wrenched in her hands. Fear gripped her for a brief moment, but then clarity came. She would not fail. She guided her ship through the wreckage of alien vessels, targeting a cruiser that had been cornering her squadron. With a final, precise strike, the cruiser disintegrated, leaving only fragments behind. The squadron regrouped, battered but victorious. Each member knew the cost of the fight, yet they felt a surge of pride. Humanity had proven something vital. No matter how advanced or merciless the enemy, unity, courage, and determination could turn the tide. Admiral Hayes watched the reports and allowed himself a rare, grim smile. Humanity had forced the aliens onto the defensive for the first time. They had struck at a critical weakness, and the message was clear: Earth would not surrender. The invaders had underestimated a species that fought not for conquest but for survival, for home, for family. The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with distant stars that flickered like tiny sparks of hope or warning. Commander Zyron of the Krillin Armada floated above the holographic display on the bridge of his flagship, his claws tapping nervously against the smooth surface. He had faced countless enemies, conquered worlds, and destroyed fleets, yet the message blinking before him made even a seasoned warlord feel a rare, sharp tremor of fear. Warning: human warship detected. Estimated arrival 12 hours. Total annihilation likely. The words burned on the display, repeating in urgent loops. The Krillins had always believed humans to be weak, disorganized, insignificant. They were a minor species at the edges of the galaxy, barely advanced compared to the Krillin war machine. For centuries, humans were treated as a curiosity, a strange, noisy species that might survive small skirmishes but would never pose a real threat. And yet, here was proof that their assumptions were wrong. Zyron's tail lashed with tension. He looked around at the bridge, where officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some whispered quietly, hardly daring to breathe the words aloud. Could it be true? One asked. Could a single human warship? Silence! Zyron barked, his voice cutting through the murmur. We have no time for fear. Prepare the fleet, every ship, every weapon. They will not reach our worlds alive. The officers scrambled to follow orders, but in the pit of their stomachs, doubt had already settled. Humans were unpredictable, stubborn, reckless. But that recklessness often led to survival, even triumph, against impossible odds. There were stories, old and half forgotten, of small human fleets wiping out Krillin squads twice their size. Legend said humans would fight until the last breath, never surrendering, never yielding. Zyron tried to dismiss them as myths, but his instincts, honed through centuries of war, screamed that the humans were something the galaxy had never truly faced before. Far from the Krillin fleet, the human warship Aegis of Earth glided silently through the darkness. Its hull reflected the distant glow of dying stars, and its engines hummed with controlled fury. On the bridge, Captain Mara Valen stood straight and calm, her hands resting lightly on the console. She looked at her crew, young men and women who had trained for years for this very moment, and she saw the same determination in their eyes that burned in her own. They think we are weak, she said softly, almost to herself. They think we cannot fight. They are wrong. They always have been wrong. The Aegis had no fleet to back it up, no massive warships like the Krillins wielded, but it carried something far more dangerous: the human spirit. It was ingenuity, courage, and unity in steel and fire. A single human warship could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast an armada that relied solely on numbers and firepower. Mara turned to her first officer, Lieutenant Kane. How long until we reach their outer patrols? Approximately 7 hours, Captain, Kane replied. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of anxiety. Good, Mara said. She pressed a button and a star map illuminated, showing the dense Krillin formations ahead. Then let them see what humans are capable of. We fight not because we must survive, but because we refuse to be conquered. Back in the Krillin flagship, Zyron watched his scanners feed him more information. Ships approaching, engines flaring, weapons powering up. Panic and anticipation clashed inside him. He had destroyed countless fleets, annihilated hundreds of systems. Yet the approach of a single human warship made him feel exposed, vulnerable, almost mortal. Commander, an advisor said hesitantly, perhaps we should consider diplomacy. Perhaps a warning is enough. Zyron slammed his claw on the console. No, humans do not respond to warnings. They do not fear us. They only understand one thing: strength. And we will show them strength before they show us theirs. And somewhere deep in the void of space, the Aegis moved closer. Its hull gleamed like silver in the distant starlight, silent, deadly, unyielding. A single message echoed in the minds of all who detected it. The humans were coming. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Krillin fleet drifted through the darkness like a black tide, massive ships stretching for miles, weapons glowing ominously. Every commander moved with precise calculations. Every crew member trained to respond without hesitation. Yet beneath the surface of discipline, a ripple of fear began to spread. Stories of humans were no longer whispers. They were warnings, and the warning had arrived. Commander Zyron paced on the bridge, his senses sharp, eyes scanning the tactical displays. The humans were approaching, but no sensor could predict their next move. No battle formation could account for the chaos they brought. Zyron clenched his claws. He had faced countless enemies, insectoid swarms that devoured planets, sentient storms that shredded ships, even rival empires with fleets larger than stars. But humans were different. They fought not with sheer size or power alone. They fought with something else, something the Krillins had long forgotten: the heart. A young officer, barely out of training, leaned towards Zyron, whispering, "Sir, perhaps this is a trap. Perhaps humans cannot fight in space." Zyron's tail flicked sharply. "Trap or not, we cannot hesitate. We must assume they can. Humans are reckless, yes, but deadly. That is what makes them dangerous. That is what makes them human." Far ahead, in the silent black of space, the Aegis glided through the void like a predator. Captain Mara Valen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars. She could see the glimmering outlines of Krillin ships in the distance, their enormous silhouettes blotting out distant stars. Her crew worked in perfect synchronicity, loading weapons, checking shields, running simulations. Fear was there, but it did not rule them, it sharpened them. Lieutenant Kane approached Mara, his voice steady but low. "Captain, they outnumber us 100 to 1. Mara's lips curved in a faint, determined smile. "Then let's make every shot count," she replied. Her voice carried calm authority, the kind that turned fear into resolve. "We are not just a ship. We are humanity's will, and the Krillins will remember what it means to challenge it." Back on the Krillin flagship, Zyron watched reports flood in. Scout drones had detected the Aegis's approach. It was smaller, older than any Krillin warship, but faster and clever. Its energy signatures flickered, almost as if it moved differently through the void, impossible to predict, impossible to trap. The advisors argued, voices overlapping. "We should send decoys. We should blockade. We should—" "Enough!" Zyron roared, silencing the room. "No tactic can stop them. We must be ready to destroy them, or we will fall like all others who underestimated humans." The Krillin fleet tightened formations, massive warships aligning in rows of deadly intent. Lasers glimmered along the edges of ships, shields powered to maximum, engines humming with war energy. The tension was thick, almost tangible, as if the void itself was holding its breath. Meanwhile, Mara watched the distant warships, calculating, thinking, adapting. She tapped commands rapidly, reprogramming drones, adjusting shield frequencies, planning maneuvers the Krillins could not anticipate. Every crew member was focused, hearts pounding, but their unity was stronger than fear. They were small, yes, but precise, smart, unyielding. A message came through from the Krillins. "Surrender now, humans. Resistance is futile. Total annihilation awaits." Mara read it silently, then turned to her crew. "They still do not understand," she said softly. "They think fear will stop us. They do not know. Humans fight not because we must survive, but because we refuse to give up. Let them come." For the first time in centuries, Zyron felt the cold grip of doubt. These humans, one warship, one crew, might not just fight back. They might destroy everything he had built. His claws trembled, not with anger, but with the fear of the unknown. And somewhere, in the silent emptiness between stars, the Aegis continued its steady approach. Silent, relentless, unseen. A shadow moving through the void, carrying with it a simple truth. The galaxy had misjudged humans, and they were about to learn the hard way just how deadly that mistake could be. The silence of space shattered as the first Krillin ships opened fire. Beams of blue energy tore across the darkness, aimed at the lone human warship cutting through the void. The Aegis shuddered under the strikes, but it did not falter. Captain Mara Valen stood at the helm, eyes sharp, hands steady. "Divert shields to port. Fire the electromagnetic pulses on my mark." Her crew moved with precision. The pulses surged forward, striking the Krillin ships with violent force, disabling weapons and communications. Explosions lit the darkness, sending debris drifting like deadly snowflakes. The Krillins roared in disbelief. How could a single ship wreak so much havoc? Commander Zyron's claws tightened around the console. Impossible, he bellowed. No single vessel can destroy even a dozen of ours, let alone this. His tail lashed in frustration as he recalculated strategies. Every attack they launched was met with countermeasures. Every formation broken in moments. The humans were unpredictable, agile, and smart. They fought like nothing the galaxy had seen before. A young Krillin officer leaned over, voice trembling. Commander, they are adapting to everything we do. Zyron growled low, a sound of pure fury. Then we escalate. Bring in the destroyers. Fire everything. Show them the might of Krillin warships.